Hey, Title 42, where are you? I don't know. Sounds like a Scooby-Doo theme to me, but it's serious. It's very serious because this is about the Biden administration playing games with Americans, with our lives, with our own national security, doing the same to those that are coming across that border. And I'm planning today on heading to the border. Why? Because yesterday, the surges are beginning again. Yesterday, I get a call from not Department of Homeland Security. That would be nice if Alejandro Mayorkas would actually take this seriously. But it was actually from the Texas Department of Public Safety. And they were right there on the border as they were calling me. This was Lieutenant Chris Olivares. And 1,600 people plus were on the other side of the Rio Grande and making their way across the high river. That is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Title 42 and how the Biden administration has really played us on this, and the Department of Homeland Security as well. Now, this was implemented, Title 42. It was a pandemic era policy that went into effect under President Trump, and President Trump actually meant business when he had Title 42. It was for a reason. It was to keep people across the border, right? And processing them in a third country or secondary country because of the pandemic, because we didn't want people crossing the border that could possibly be infected. And it focused on specific areas of the world in Latin America. But right now, the Biden administration is trying to promise you that they're setting up these migrant processing centers in Latin America, which means that they're sending millions of dollars through the governments, Latin American governments, that and USAID projects and different NGOs and stuff to process people over there before they come here. That's not going to happen, folks. You want to know why? Because within an hour and a half, and I know you're saying, oh, but this is before Title 42 ends. That's why they're all running here. There's no migrant processing centers that they're talking about. Where are they? Because if there were, they would be processing them right now. And that's what we're going to be talking about. I want you to think about this. Think about the game that they're playing on you and me and everyone else in the world. And we have to ask ourselves why. Because if there were processing centers, Title 42 is set to end on May 11th, right? So they would be there now. Why do we have thousands of people in 1 hour, just in one area? I'm not counting all the other thousands that may have been in Yuma, that may have been in other parts of Texas, getting ready to come into our country, which they did, by the way. They did. And I'm going to go into details about that. And that is why, folks, before I leave to Budapest, Hungary, because I'll be there, I'll be heading out tomorrow morning to Budapest. I am heading to the border, which is a 4-hour drive from me, but I'm going to make that drive and I'm going to do that story. And then I'm going to bring it back to you. And I'm going to talk to you when I get to Budapest. I promise that. Just hold on really quick. We're going to get into details right after this special announcement from Allegiance Gold. I talk about Allegiance Gold all the time. You need to diversify your money. You really do, because we live in very uncertain times. And we can see what's happening right now in our country. We see what's happening with the banks. We see what's happening in the stock market. We're in a recession. Yes, Joe Biden, we are in a recession. And you're going to need to diversify. Don't just trust my word for it. Look up Allegiance Gold. And right now you can get $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Sara sent you. My friends at Allegiance Gold can help you protect, listen to this, your IRA, your 401k with physical gold and silver, and they can have it delivered securely right to your door. They'll not only do that, they'll educate you on the benefits of physical gold because they care and they want to build a long-term relationship with you. Don't trust me, I said, investigate it. They have the highest ratings in the industry. Right now, they have 5 stars with TrustLink, AAA rated with the Business Consumer Alliance, and they're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. You cannot beat that. Get $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Sara sent you. So don't wait. Call or click today, 877-702-7272. That's 877-702-SARA, S-A-R-A, no H. That's 877-702-SARA or protectwithsara.com. We can't control the Biden administration, folks, but we can prepare. That's 877-702-7272. That's 877-702-SARA, S-A-R-A, or protectwithsara.com. So let's talk a little bit about Title 42. And a lot of you remember that was part of the Trump era policy to keep people outside of the country during the pandemic. And yes, the Biden administration has ended the pandemic, but they were freaking out because they're already letting so many people in that they had to look like they had something in place to help them look like they were doing something at the border. It's all smoke and mirrors, folks. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's a lie. It's a lie. Now, Title 42 is set to expire on May 11th. It's coming. The end is coming. I'll be in Budapest until the 7th. I will be back by the end of Title 42, but it really doesn't even matter. They're trying to get you to believe that they're going to have these processing centers overseas in Latin America and that people aren't going to come across. Right now, my good friend Michael Yon is in the Darien Gap and people are coming by the tens of thousands. They're just pouring in. And some people are sick. They're sick with other things, not just COVID. A lot of people don't even have vaccinations. They're not getting tested when they come in appropriately. And by the way, even when they were coming in during COVID, because Title 42 didn't keep everybody away, it only kept a certain portion of people away. They could expel some people, not all people. And even when they came in during the time that COVID, even the last few years, they weren't really tested. And especially in the beginning, we were forced, some of us, not all of us, but government agencies forced their employees or they would lose their jobs. The military forced employees to get these crazy COVID vaccinations, which right now, by the way, look like they weren't so good, right? For us, maybe for the most afflicted, the people that would be most sick, right? Those who had cancer or something like that, they had a terminal illness or they were very weakened immune system. But the rest of us really didn't need that. You know why the illegal migrants did not get the COVID shot? Do you know why they weren't forced to do it and they would just let them in willy-nilly? Remember, there were people sick with COVID sitting at a Whataburger in McAllen. Do you remember that? They didn't get it because those people could sue the pharmaceutical companies. In the United States, American citizens could not sue the pharmaceutical companies. Do you see the craziness in all of this? So they let them in. Now it's going to end. I'm not going to get into the whole COVID subject, but I want to talk to you a little bit about what is going on in our country. And I don't know if you see it. I don't know if you see what's happening around us, but we are in a massive predicament. Folks, we are facing things we have never faced before. The immigration system is crumbling apart. We will have much more than 5 million people. Some people estimate 8 million. That's bigger than some states coming into our country by the end of the Biden administration. And hopefully it ends. Hopefully he's not reelected. I want you to think about that. Last week, I was getting calls from people that believed there were migrants that had come across with a very contagious illness. I'm not going to mention it here because it ended up being, after I investigated it, it was not an accurate assessment of what these migrants had. They did have something, but it was not extraordinarily contagious. It was something else, thank God. But that's how serious this is. Anything and everything can come across that border. And I want you to think about all the lives that are affected by this. All the lives that are affected by this, by what has happened in our country. Right? Title 42, although an act of theater, did help the administrations especially under Trump, because they actually abided by it, to expel a number of immigrants. For Biden, it was the only ammo that he had in his briefcase, in his football, in his briefcase, to actually expel people. So there were 2.4 million migrants that have been expelled. But still, guys, over 5 million that are going to be let in by the end of his term. And by the way, more than 1 million known gotaways. But because they ended all of the Trump executive orders, our border has remained just an open sieve, not just for innocent people. It is about opening that border for everybody and anyone. That means we have people coming into this country with criminal histories, and I'll talk about that in a second. We have an enormous amount of narcotics being brought into the United States, fentanyl and counterfeit pills, which are killing our children and our citizens. Yes, over 100,000 a year, and I think that number is low. I don't think that that's an accurate assessment. I don't think that the death certificates are actually reflecting what is actually happening in our country. So, 107,000 plus, yes. 60% due to fentanyl, yes. But I think those numbers are much higher. And what about the people that are coming into this country that are criminals? What about the people that are coming into this country that are terrorists? What about the people that are killing our citizens every single day? Unnecessary deaths. Right now, in Cleveland, Texas, officers are searching. God, I hope they find this man. Francisco Oropesa. He is a murderer. He is a Mexican national, and he is accused of gunning down his neighbors in San Jacinto County in Cleveland, Texas, here in my home state. And one of them was an 8-year-old child. I want you to think about that. And the reason he gunned them down, it is believed, is because one of the neighbors walked outside while this guy was shooting his AR rifle and said, "Could you please stop and keep it down because we have a baby in the house?" And by the way, there were 2 other children, and the 2 women who were in the house, they were Honduran women. I guess they jumped on top of the children. One was a baby, and they jumped on top of these 2 children. It was too bad that the 8-year-old was not right there. And they saved the 2 children that were in the house that were saved were because these women threw their bodies on top of them. This man is now on the run, and he is extraordinarily dangerous. Extraordinarily dangerous. 5 people shot and killed over the weekend. And believe me, this isn't the first time that this guy's killed anyone. No way. No way. No way at all. There were 10 people inside his neighbor's house when that happened. So we lost Daniel Enrique. The other 4 victims were 3 women, ages 21, 25, and 31, and an 18-year-old man that were all from Honduras. They're offering an $80,000 reward right now for the rest of Oropesa. Think about that. And there are so many more. There are so many more people out there. But the sad thing is that in our country right now, and I've covered these stories over and over again, I've told you about this. I'm seeing our own children dying every single day, and we have still not woken up. I see my good friend Derek Maltz. He worked with the Justice Department. He's with the DEA, a senior investigator, retired now. I see him every single day tweeting about this, getting on Fox News whenever he can to talk about this, to warn you about what is going on, to tell you what is happening to our country. I bring people on like Chris Olivares and Chris Cabrera from the Border Patrol and Brandon Judd, the head of the Border Patrol Union, and others like Arto Cueto. Every single time I go down to the border, and I am pleading with you, pleading with all of you, before your children die, before another person dies, before another child is trafficked from overseas, before the Chinese realize that, wow, maybe there's something else they can bring across that border because, by the way, it is the Chinese Communist Party that is using those drug cartels right now as proxies to destroy our nation. Please wake up. Please wake up. Please wake up and see what's happening to our country, to our great nation before it's too late. I don't know what it is going to take to get us to wake up. I don't know if we are going to be lost, if this is it for us, or if all of these signs and signals are going to change something for us. I certainly hope so. That's why I'm going to be heading to the border in about an hour. But let me read this to you. Bill Malusian is reporting that Francisco Oropesa, and Bill Malusian's my colleague at Fox News, had been deported 5 times between 2009 and 2016. All those people lost their lives. You want to know why? Because our government doesn't care. Because the lawmakers that you put right in office, because President Biden and his administration and Alejandro Mayorkas does not care. They do not care about you. They care about themselves. They care about their power. They care about lining their pockets. They do not care about your children. Wake up. Wake up and realize what is going on here. This should be a bipartisan issue. We should all be fighting to keep that border closed. We should all be fighting for our children and the children that are crossing. We should all be doing that every single day. And by the way, if our lawmakers, whether they're Republican or whether they're Democrats, don't do that, then we should fire them. And every single day we report on stories. Let's talk about it. Oh, Virginia Krieger, who lost her daughter because she had back pain and her friend gave her a counterfeit pill she didn't even know, thought it was a Percocet. She died, left behind a child. My son, his friend Joe, not even in his mid-20s, takes a pill, thinks it's an Adderall, he dies, never wakes up again, right? Gone forever from planet Earth, like so many tens of thousands. Poisoned. Not an addict, not OD'd, poisoned. And guess what? Another one of my family's good friends just graduated from law school, was just on a trip to Brazil, happiest guy ever, funnest guy you could ever meet. So much fun. My son-in-law's great friend from childhood comes back 2 days after returning from Brazil, which was his big graduation, gift, comes back from Brazil, jet lagged, takes a pill that his roommate gives him because he says it's a sleeping pill, and never wakes up. Dead. Nothing. No future ahead of him. His only child, parents devastated, law school graduate, so excited to take the bar exam, so excited for the rest of his life, and never wakes up. These are all of our stories. It's not just me. I talk to so many people now who have lost someone they love because of this. And they're going to continue to die, folks. People are continued to die. They will continue to die. And that is how tragic this is. And what about all the ranchers here in Texas and all the people who own property and everyone who's running across? Let me tell you, the 1,600 people that were waiting across Brownsville to come across and did come across left a trail of garbage on the Rio Grande for miles that you can't even imagine. That's why I'm showing you some of these pictures and video on here to tell you how serious this is. And they're not staying here in Texas, folks. These people are going to go across the United States. And by the way, they are not going to be expelled. They are not going to be removed. And all they have to do is claim any kind of asylum, and they will be allowed to stay in the United States. They understand because they have been briefed. They have rehearsed this with the smugglers on their way in. They know exactly what they're supposed to say. They know exactly what they're supposed to do. For the most part, all of them will remain in the United States. And we and them, all of those that are living in the shadows, because this is not about being anti-immigrant. This is about doing things the right way so that none of us are victims, right? But all of them that just came across and all of us are now going to be victims. Victims of a system that works against us. Victims of a system that doesn't care about us. Victims of this administration. And every single bad, nefarious organization that traffics humans and that traffics narcotics into our country. My choice is not to be a victim. And the only way to do that is by speaking up and paying attention to what is going on before it is too late. I am begging you to do that. I am begging you to just pay attention, to stand up to this and tell your lawmakers that you are not going to put up with this and that your children are worth more than this and that the children that are coming into this country are worth more than this. And frankly, you are worth more than this. I really hope that they catch Francisco Oropesa. If anyone sees him, by any chance, his photo will be up on my website. He is the murderer who killed all those people and that 8-year-old child in Cleveland, Texas. If you see him, do not approach him. It may be that when you hear this, hopefully they already catch him. But if they don't have him yet and you see this man and he has a tattoo on his forearm, it looks like it's a Native American lady on his forearm or an Aztec woman, please, please, please do not approach him. He is described as being 5'8" tall. He weighs 160 pounds. His name is Francisco Oropesa. He looks like he's got some pretty evil eyes. And he killed this family in cold blood. It's terrifying. Please do not approach him. There is a GoFundMe page that's been set up for Sonia Guzman and Daniel Enrique. Family members are telling the local ABC News 13 affiliate that they want to use the money to send the victims back to Honduras so that they can be buried in their nation, in their home country. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. This is a pretty tragic situation. I'll be reporting tonight, hopefully, on Sean Hannity from the border. Thank you so much again for being a part of my show. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on Twitter at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless the Guzman family. And God bless the great state of Texas.